I recently acquired some new shelves, so it's time for a bookshelf tour. Hello everyone, welcome back to a fictional escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is a bookshelf tour. I don't know if I've done one of these. If I have, I've done one and it wasn't recently, but I figured I just got some new shelves. You can see this one in the middle behind me over here. So I picked that one up, and also shelves that you don't normally see, which are filled with what I call the feral paperbacks. They are lovingly referred to as the feral shelves. Next to me, and I bought another one of those as well because I do love some secondhand paperbacks, but they're not the prettiest. So they go over here, which is off the camera. There are some here where, when we get closer, that aren't like the best looking, but they look okay on the camera. And also like lots of authors, or lots of one author being stacked together. So we're gonna go into the tour. I'm gonna take you out into the lounge room first because we have a couple of shelves out there. They're not super like stacked out there. Most of the books are in this room. But there are some books out there. So let's go. Without any further ado, if you want to like, subscribe, do that, I guess. But let's go start the tour. Okay, we will be starting the tour here in the lounge room. The first one we have is near the bar cart, and you'll see these little ducks everywhere because my housemate decided to buy, I don't know, 200 of them, and they're just around the house. They're just everywhere. So the first book on the agenda is The Bartender Between Worlds. This is the special edition that I backed on Kickstarter by Herman Stuernagel, and I don't know, I thought it was really nice to put it out here with the bar cart. We don't beverage a lot, but when we do, it's normally whiskey. It's something I got to share with my grandfather. So there is that lives here. Over here we have our first little shelf. So we have a bunch of these shelves are like not organized, not like the shelves that I have in my office or my book nook, as we call it. So these are Rachel's books here, and they will be like a full Rachel TBR, probably before this has come up actually. But there are her books there. These are all, I think most of these are Stefan purchases. So we have a bookshop here that we really like, and she's also been got FOMO, so she bought a few. Here we've got a few classics. So these are Rachel's classics and a couple of contemporary. For me, the S.A. Chakraborty, I believe, is fantasy as well as the Catherine Kerr. And then we have Outlander, which I am planning on reading at some point. And there is My Little Family. Look, cuties. And here are all their star signs, if anyone cares. And there is a copy of Dracula. Coming down here, we have my version of the Book of Shadows. I don't know if you can see it. You can see the triquetra there. I don't like these versions of Lord of the Rings. I don't love the film covers, but we have them, so they live out here. And then we have Matthew Riley, which I read slowly. I don't mind them, but I tend to throw them in with other bigger fantasy series, and then we sort of start getting into the King territory. So Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, and I've got one of his books. And then we have two shelves of Stephen King and a couple of Dean Koontz as well. So they're pretty beat up. I think I've read maybe, I don't know, I want to say 30%, 40% maybe of the Stephen Kings that I have. I will work my way through them eventually. Some of them I don't actually remember. So anyway, those are the lounge room shelves. Into the nook. Okay, before we actually go into the nook, we need something from the spare room. Don't look at the unmade bed. We listen and we don't judge. I am short. I need the stepladder. Anyway. Hello, there's me again. Don't look at all the mess. If you get shaky cam, apologies for motion sickness folk. Okay. Let's try not to die while we're doing this. Okie dokies. Alright, up here we have the Malazan Book of the Fallen. We also have an octopus. It's minding its business, as you should. Alright, so we have the 9 books so far of Stephen Erickson on the Malazan Book of the Fallen. That is the only thing that is up here. And the reason for that is I don't know where else to put them, and they just live there now. Alright, let's start with the big shelf. Up here we have Samantha Shannon. So these just look really nice with the colouring of the octopus, and this is the sturdiest bookshelf I have, so a lot of the hardcovers are going to be on this one. So we basically go by genre here. A lot of these are fantasy, so this is all the fantasy shelf pretty much. Fantasy and self-pub. So we've got the Radiant Emperor duology, followed by the Bone Shard. I have no idea what the series is called. The Drowning Empire. We have R.J. Barker, author by author for me, and then a few other hardcovers, so Tradpub hardcovers that we've got up here. I have the second one of this series coming. It should be here in the next couple of weeks to put on the shelf. We have the City of Dusk, one of these, a Dark Gods series by Tara Sim. Really cool series. I've enjoyed it a lot. Looking forward to the third book. We have Empire of the Vampire. I'm not sure if they're staying. I've read some stuff about Jay Kristoff that I don't love, so they may come off. I haven't decided if I'm even going to read the second book yet. Alas. We have R.S. Ford. That is courtesy of Elle at Elliot Brooks. So I have the third one pre-ordered. I'll read it at some point in my life, as with most of these. Then we have another bunch of first books of Trad Pub series, which are too big to go anywhere else. Coming down to the second one here, we've got some self-pub hardcovers. So we've got the Michael R. Miller series here, The Songs of Chaos. We've got 1 to 3 that were very kindly sent to me by the author. Thank you, Michael. I'll be reading those this year. Then we have the Kickstarter editions of these ones here, the Ranger of the Titan Wilds. I had the fourth one of these coming at some point. Am I going to find room for it? Hopefully. Spark the Divine by Louise Holland. We've got Blood of the Spear. The novella is a little bit further down on the shelf. We've got Iron Crown, Exile of Gold and Water, Water and Gold. I can speak. We've got the Malatu series. I'm very much looking forward to. These are the wrong way around. That's annoying. Looking forward to the third one of those. Just got the Supplicant, so we just got the second one in this series. 2 from Kate and Love, and then we jump into. So this is a imposter. This is not a hardcover, but it does go with the second book. So alas, then we go into the Rob J. Hayes, another author by indie author for me. Collection I saved up. Actually, no, Rachel bought me or gave me a voucher to go towards these. Probably my favorite series of all time at this point. So we've got the nice hardcovers there, and then we have this Starbinder. We have Dreams of the Dying, which got me into reading. Got me into reading indie again, which is lovely. We've got some more indie here. So this was, I think they made, I'm not sure if they made 80 of these, but this is the omnibus edition, and it's just beautiful. It is such a beautiful book. My favorite cover designer over here, lovely. Threadlight, that was a beautiful Kickstarter as well. And then we have just some more indie. I'm going to stop saying names because there's going to be so many names to go through. Got the Palmer Pickering collection here. She has sent me all of these, which, shout out to Palmer. Thank you so much for doing that. And I've been able to start beta reading for Palmer, which is a lot of fun. This is a great series. If you like the Witcher but want like a indie banter, great, love it. But gives me Witcher vibes and Elder Scrolls, even though I didn't play it. But they're the comps I'll give you there. Got some Aussie authors, some Aussie indie authors here, which is great. Soul Cage, what a banger of a book. Then we have another author for me, L.L. McCree, in her little section. I do have Marauder, the new edition of it, but I got a bit banged up in the move, so that is over on the feral shells, which we'll go to at the end here. And I do have some more of Helen Reed Pedersen's books, but they are in Rachel shelves, which we won't be going into today because that office is a mess. We still have got some indie, so a lot of these shelves are indie. We have got Jordan Law Short here, which I should be reading this year. We have a bunch of books that I haven't read yet, and I picked up when I was just going on like a mad book buying spree. So there will be first chapter challenges of those, I'm sure, as we go through, and some more that I want to get some more of. This one's cool. This I want a giveaway for this, and I got like a proof copy, so I have like the not for resale thing on there. I don't know. I think that's really neat. I'll deal with that later when we go through. And we've just got some more indie books on this shelf here. I really need to read these two. I need to read this one again. And then get on to the second one. Alright, we are going down. Boop. Moving that out of the way. We have got more indie. More indie, one of my favorite indie series. I'm looking forward to the third book, whenever that one comes out. You'll notice sort of Kygan is there. It is still in the indie shelves. We have quite a few Ross Kingston's, which I still need to read. And then we sort of go into Dude Bro Trad Pub land. Okay, we're getting on the knees. We have books that are too big to put anywhere, except for this shelf, with the books of the Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. We have got David Dalglish down here, so I'm currently reading Level Unknown. I will read these at some point. We are missing book 1 because my father-in-law has it for that one. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy the Lies of Lachlan Mora, but they're there. We've got Malice. I did actually read these over with Roger. I enjoyed it. I will reread these physically at some point because I did them all on audio. We've got the Mike Brooks series there. More R.J. Barker with the paperbacks. And we've got Sailor Ascends, all the books of Babel, and also the newest one by Josiah Bancroft, and the first 2 in the Dandelion Dynasty. So I think the Dandelion Dynasty may be a 2026 read for me. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Okay, up we go. All right, we have another fantasy shelf. I have lots of sharks. You can see them. My housemate gave me a Shonkmas card. Many sharks up here. And I did have Jaws. That's a pirate ship I need to build to go up here. There's a spot for it. Anyway, so I have the Folio Society edition of Jaws. It is beautiful. I will never read this thing with my own hands because I don't want my grubby fingers on it. But it is lovely. I've got a little shark here. Just because. Anyway, we have the Wheel of Time. These are not mine, full disclosure. These are Rachel's. I have read up to book 4. I'm up to this one. I'll read it at some point once I finish Malazan. Then we come down to Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. I will very likely read this whole series, but I'll start with book 1. Then we have Realm of the Elderlings, also not mine. These are Rachel's, but they do look nice on the shelf here. I've tried Robin Hobb. I'm so sorry, Robin Hobb fans. I DNF'd this one. I will try it again at some point. I just can't with Fitz. Actually, these two series, look, full disclosure, my 2 most hated characters in any series of all time is Rand and Fitz. So, I don't know. Let me know if it's worth persevering throughout the whole series. But there is Robin Hobb up there. Then we come down to some Susanna Clark. Oh, we had Piranesi on the other shelf out there. I will read this at some point, but it is chonk. I recently acquired the first 3 books. I didn't realize it was a whole series, and there's 6 of them. But I have the first 3. I read this one, A Charmed Sphere, when I was in high school, and I really liked it. But I would like to continue on with the series. It's got some geometry magic, based on like shapes and maths and stuff, which is kind of cool. And I really enjoyed the prose there. I have some Aaron Morgenstern. I haven't read them, but I would like to. We have The Surviving Sky. I think book 3, the cover just got released. I'm not sure. We're going to Lynn Llewellyn. Once I read these 3, I'll collect the rest of them. And then we have just Janny Wirtz Central, one of my favorite trad pub authors. Just fantastic stuff. I have read these 5. I have not read this one here. And I'll be starting Wars of Light and Shadow in July. If anyone wants to come along for that, you are more than welcome. Going down, Queen Shelf. I will be taking no questions about this. Anna Smith Spark, so I'll be reading these this year. Jen Williams is one that a lot of people that I know and trust have really enjoyed, so I will pick that up. I'm currently reading Lies Not, which is why there's a space for book 2. N.K. Jemisin, I need to read that one. Fonda Lee, here. Kai Kai, I haven't read this one. I believe a second book in the same world has come out, but it's not a series, they're all standalones. And I finally got the 3rd book of the Tasha Shuri series. So I said Queen Shelf, and I've read 1-2 series. I've read this one here, and I'm currently reading Rock and Rose. Come down to some more ladies and non-binary people of the fantasy realm. So we've got V.E. Schwab here. I have not read any of these. I do have Addie LaRue on Audible, which I'll probably get to first because I'm going through audiobooks quicker at the moment. I do want to read the Sapphic fantasy coming out this year, and I know my housemate will too, so maybe we'll read that one together. Maybe that'll be my first. I'm unsure. Then we have a couple more here. So we'll get book 3 of C.L. Clark. C.L. Clark's just released something in the Arcane universe, which I will probably read first. Unsure. And then we get into Mark Lawrence. So I haven't read any of Mark Lawrence, but I do own 6 of them. Anyway, then we've got Justin Lee Anderson, Mo Hader. The Book of Sand is a book I walked past many times and picked it up many times and just gave up. I was like, you know what? I've walked past this book many times. At this point, I'm just going to buy it, and we'll see where we go. And then we have another shelf of this on the next shelf over, but I told myself I was going to stop buying whole series, so I just started buying like book 1s, like mad buying book 1s, and that is where all these come into, and some my father-in-law have. Jumping down to Brando Sando. So I'm not Brando Sando's biggest fan. I thought Mistborn was fine and overwritten, however, but I really liked the ending. I will go to Mistborn Era 2, and I believe I'm going to enjoy that one a lot more, just because people with similar tastes seem to like that one as well. I have, however, really enjoyed the sci-fi YA series, which I'm currently listening to. So there's that. I have no idea when I'm going to pick up Stormlight Archive. I've only got the first 3, and they are large. Speaking of Dubros of fantasy, we've got Patrick Rothfuss up here. I didn't know where else to put it. I didn't want it in the other shelf. I have read Name of the Wind many years ago. I have never read The Wise Man's Fear. Likewise, sorry, fantasy people, I have read A Game of Thrones. I really enjoyed it, the first book, but I have not continued on with the series, nor have I watched the TV show. We'll continue with fantasy. So here's another bunch of book ones down on the bottom shelf here that I've purchased and I have not read yet. I actually believe that is horror, but that's going in a little book haul. This Black Hunger one down here that I haven't done yet. So that is staying down here. And then we come up to, sorry again for motion sickness, we come up to different genres. So here we have historical fiction. I do not know if I'm going to enjoy this series after hearing some things other people have said, but I have it and I will give it a go. So these are the first two books in that series. Two of my favorite historical fictions that I've read. So we have The Tournament by Matthew Riley about chess tournaments, and that was really cool. I also really enjoyed Sylvia by Bryce Courtney. Have this bind up of the Cicero trilogy. I will read this at some point. We have Con Eagledon. I quite liked two of the books in the Genghis Khan series, but I also didn't like two of the books in the Genghis Khan series. So we'll see how I feel about Lion. We have Most Ardently, which is a trans retelling of Pride and Prejudice, and it's still historical fiction, so I guess it fits on this shelf. Not read this one. I would like to read this one sooner rather than later. I was meant to read it 3 years ago, it just didn't happen. Again, I'm not sure about this series, but I have the first three, so we'll give it a go. Lancelot, I bought, I think when we got to Perth. I'll read this at some point. This is probably my next series that I would like to tackle in full for historical fiction. So, Boudica. Then we go into some classics. Got these. I like the cloth bound personally. I don't really like the feel of the leather bound. We've got some nice Daphne du Maurier editions that I picked up for a couple of dollars. They are breaking apart a little bit, but they're so beautiful. And then we have The Divine Comedy, which I'd started and never finished. YOLO. Coming down here, we've got a couple more classics that are on the TBR, and then we jump into horror. So we sort of have the point where we go into horror with Susan Hill, because technically a classic horror, I guess. All right, we continue on with the horror shelf. We have Eric LaRocca. I've got a couple more of theirs coming. I believe I've pre-ordered the first novel, and I've got one on back order, which is having printing issues at the moment, to come through. I will very likely get rid of these at some point. The Stephen Graham Jones Indian Lake trilogy. They're not bad. I've just enjoyed them on audio, and I don't think I'll read them again. So they weren't bad, but they weren't my favorite. I don't love slashers, nor I've never loved slashers, but they were cool for what they are. Probably do it on audio. Maybe send them to my sister, who does love slashers. This one here, the most underrated folklore horror that I've read. Very good. Very big. Very good. So I've enjoyed that one. I do need more Nat Cassidy as well. Coming down here to sci-fi, we've got Jeff Vandermeer, the collection here. So I've read these. I still need to read these two. Got Octavia E. Butler. China Mieville. This is sci-fantasy, but I put them on the sci-fi shelf because YOLO. Adrian Tchaikovsky, another one there. H.G. Wells, this is a cool collection of the short stories that they have, and some Michael Crichton, and then we've got the SF Masterworks down here, and then we have Bluebird, and I believe that is Grady Hendrix at the end there. Sure is. We've got Warhammer. I have no idea I'm starting this journey, but apparently the Founding is a good place to start, so I have the first two omnibuses of that particular series, and then we just have a variety of sci-fi down here. So Anne Leckie is one my mate Ryan enjoys. I've read the first one. I thought it was okay. Is that the right way around? I believe it is. I don't know. Then we have Megan O'Keefe. We've got the first one of The Expanse. We've got a local author here, Jeremy Sells. And then we've got some Hugh Howey. And we've got Dune. And the first few books of the Sun Eater series. I think I'm going to like that just based on people who don't like it. So we'll see. And this one here by Peter F. Hamilton, I'll be reading this year. The Commonwealth Saga, I believe it is called. Okay, that was the sci-fi shelf. Over here we have the TBR shelf. So these are books that are on my more immediate future that I need to pick up. So we've got a couple of review copies in here. So Ulthian, I probably butchered that, Anonymity, and The Wrong Stop are all books that have been sent to me. So thank you to those authors, and they're just here to gravitate towards potential buddy reads, things like that, and things on my radar in the immediate future. This shelf here is basically for reading projects, which I've filmed an introduction to this particular reading project, and it has now been 2 weeks, and it's just, I guess, died. And then we have a couple of non-fiction, my very, very small non-fiction collection, because I tend to do those on audio. Over here we have A Meeting of Ducks. What they're doing is none of our business, but they're having a good time, and it looks like these two are fighting in the car. Very dirty car. there's just a nice little break for you before we jump into the feral shelves. The loving feral shelves up here. We've got a couple of YA books that didn't really fit anywhere else, so they are up here. And then we have the Ancient Future. So we've got the trilogy there. We've got Joel Shepherd over here, which now I realize needs to go on this shelf, but this shelf is full. Coming down, we have J.V. Jones. Like I said, these are beat up copies. They are well loved copies. I love them, and people don't like looking at them. We have the first trilogy in the Kushiels, whatever that's called. We have got Patricia Briggs. I've got the first two in this series. Roger, I will read this one day, I promise. Then we have some series which I've purchased in different sizes, which I know also annoys people sometimes, but these are so varying in size that I put them on the feral shelves. Now, these are all new, but I haven't read them yet. Then we have one of my guilty pleasure series, or a series I feel very fondly about. I've read the first two many times, as you can probably see by the amount of spine breakage that's happened there. And I haven't read, so there's 14 books in the series. This is Arc 1, and I will read that and then hopefully continue to collect them. Coming down, we've got some Kate Elliott, which I've never read, but this is a series I've decided to start with, and Jennifer Fallon. And then we've got a Sarah Douglas shelf. There's Moretta. There she is, looking beautiful. Yeah, a little banged up, but still beautiful, just like the rest of us. Sarah Douglas, I've just bought this series here, the Troy game. I read it many, many years ago and really enjoyed it. And I've been looking for a matching set forever. And I happened to find one relatively cheap. Jumping down here, we got the Dubrow shelf, where Joel Shepherd should really be. I don't know if I'm continuing on with Joe Abercrombie. Like, unpopular opinion, didn't like it. So I've read 4, and I have the other 2 standalones to read. Maybe one day they're there, because I haven't decided if I'm getting rid of them yet. Then we've got Terry Brooks. We've got some L.E. Modesitt Jr. and David Gemmell. Up here is really an Ian Irvine shelf, so these are the only 2 that are double stacked, but they do have more room to move. I will read this series first, and then I believe this one behind it is a continuation series. Some Raymond E. Feist and some GGK, some KJ Parker. Up here, we've got Brian Staveley. These are pretty beat up. They look nice. The spines look okay. I will read these one day, but there's some themes in there that I'm just not sure if I'm mentally ready yet. Some people have given me some warning there. Then we have Bradley P. Boliow. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. And they're just different sizes. So they're over here. Got some horror, some beat up horror that we have over here. And then we've got R.A. Salvatore. Bunch of those. Tad Williams shelf, because I keep buying Tad Williams books and just not reading them. And finally, we have up here, we've got the rest of the Dune series, because these are a little bit beat up. We have Hyperion. Now, the reason this isn't on the sci-fi shelf is, I believe, problematic author. I'm not sure. I haven't looked too far into it, but I have been fair warned, so I didn't want them on a shelf that people look at all the time, just in case it's triggering for some people. Much like those J. Kristoff ones, where I'm considering bringing them off those shelves. Tony Scialetto. So I've heard that this is a great series. I found both of these in a secondhand bookshop. I'm looking for the third one. And then we have some Daniel Abraham and Mark Chadbourne. This is a great series. This is an omnibus edition that I managed to find. I read it again when I was in uni many, many years ago, and yeah, found it. So those are the shelves that I have for you. Those are the shelves that we have in the office. That is, I guess, a book tour of sorts. I don't tend to shuffle my shelves around a lot, so don't, I wouldn't expect one of these per year, because I don't fuck around with them all that much, to be completely honest with you. I'll put new books as I get them in the shelves, and if there's significant change, maybe, but I don't see it happening. I'm not someone who loves to pull all this stuff off and do it over and over and over again. Not a vibe for me. But if you like the content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.